Okay, on the podcast, Chris Hipkins is failing to tell the truth over the lifting of the foreign house buying ban. Hipkins suggests foreigners will flood our shores buying all these houses. They won't. Just 0.2% of all sales last year were houses over $5 million. Just over 100. Stu Nash says his old Labour colleagues are deluded and out of touch if they want to block rich foreigners coming into the country with their capital. David Seymour will join me shortly on the podcast as well, so let's go.
Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief, proudly sponsored by the Brothers Green. Unlock the innate power of New Zealand botanicals to support your mobility. Try the Brothers Green New Zealand Move Joint Support Tonic and join over 20,000 other Kiwis experiencing easier movement. For as little as $1 a day, you too can experience the power of New Zealand hemp seed oil for your joint health. Always read the label. Take as directed. Supplementary, of course, to a balanced diet. The Brothers Green, Christchurch. Okay, welcome, folks. I'm Duncan Garner, and welcome, and please subscribe. Keeps us around a bit longer. And thanks, of course, to the Brothers Green, Christchurch. If you've got a sore body, you can't go to sleep, go check out their range of products. It works. They work, okay? Okay, David Seymour will join us shortly, but first, the utter codswallop from Chris Hipkins on the foreign buyer ban being lifted. This guy's misleading us. A fancy way for saying that is he's not telling the truth. He's lying. Let's go.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, Chris Hipkins is utterly shameless, totally and utterly shameless when it comes to the government lifting the foreign buyer ban on houses over $5 million. 99% of New Zealand house transactions will be unaffected by this. That's the fact. The current market will not feel this in any way, shape or form. He's not saying this. Hipkins is whipping it up. But still Hipkins. It's still saying the wrong things. He's making this up. It's not the truth. Here goes.
Christopher Luxon's made his priorities clear. He's rolling out the red carpet for wealthy foreign home buyers, while New Zealand home buyers are struggling with the rise of cost of living and seeing the prospect of home ownership rapidly evaporating in front of them. I think it shows that the government's priorities are just wrong.
What a load of shit, and here's why. Last year, just 0.2% of all New Zealand houses sold for over $5 million. There were so few, I've got the number, just 152 last year. 152. Even at the market peak, it was 0.4% of all house sales in New Zealand. So 77,000 house sales, 152 of them were over $5 million. It's a non-event, this policy. But Hipkins is desperate to make it what it isn't, and says if he was Prime Minister, it might be hard to reverse it without breaching free trade agreements. Again, not correct. He sat in a government that brought in the foreign buyer ban. He did that without breaching any free trade agreements. He could easily reverse it. Why be so non-committal? Because he's likely to drive away foreign investment if he reverses this.
We'll have a very close look at this in government. One of the challenges is under a lot of our free trade agreements, once a change like this is made and buying Kiwi homes is opened up to foreign home buyers, it'll be very difficult to reverse without breaching some of our trade agreements, the consequences of which could be quite significant for New Zealand. It's another reason why the government are wrong to make this change that they're proposing to make. They're ultimately going to be potentially opening up New Zealand homes to foreign home buyers in a way that will be irreversible.
Let me remind you again, it's just 0.2%. Let me remind you that, 0.2%, 152 homes out of 77,000. It would have absolutely no impact on the housing market here in New Zealand. A bit like the ban has had little impact on the wider market here. Just 0.2% of houses sell for over $5 million. It's a top-end, rich person's thing that the rest of us aren't involved in at all. It's just 152 homes of 77,000 sales. You're dealing with winners of lotto. No one will notice in the real world it's been lifted except for the few foreigners that do choose to buy here when they invest millions in New Zealand. And they're investing millions in New Zealand. Why would you turn that down? Why would you say, we don't want you here, we don't want your money? It's ridiculous. We need foreign investment. It brings wealth and jobs. Why would we turn it down?
The Labour Party's position is crystal clear. Kiwi homes should be for Kiwi home buyers.
Oh, Chris, they are. 77,000 homes will sell. Do I have to say this again? 150 million. 150 will be over 5 million. 150 homes will be over 5 million. That's it, Chris. Tell the truth. It's a different market. Anything under 5 million, foreigners are still banned from buying. Tell the truth, Chris. But these wealthy guys, they bring money, jobs and businesses here. We want those opportunities. Without foreign capital, we're toast. Does Hipkins not want foreign investment? So no foreign money, no foreign investment, no coal, no gas, no oil. How will this guy pay for anything? Foreign investors bring money and opportunity into New Zealand. Former Labour MP Stu Nash has championed that in government and on the outside. He says actually lifting the ban will keep the rich in New Zealand and their money, and that's good for jobs. What is Hipkins suggesting here? What's he saying? For the sake of a few of them buying houses. Come on, Chris. We're not competing with them. We will never compete with them. Stu Nash says they will simply leave New Zealand if they can't buy houses.
It's not going to make one iota of difference to the housing market. But I do think, and I've lost about 4 clients recently because they couldn't buy a house here. And I was talking to a global investor migrant company, and they said, you know what, people come to us, we talk about New Zealand, and we advise them, global people advise global investor migrants, don't go to New Zealand, you've got to invest $3 million US and you can't buy a house. So this will make a difference for them. But in terms of the housing market, not one iota of difference. And so, but Labour's come out against us because it said it would. Shows how out of touch they are.
Sure, they might be, but Hipkins is now riding the wave of a broken economy that he was part responsible for creating. But Chris Luxon is being held to account for failing to fix it. And National and Luxon have slumped to 29% in the latest Roy Morgan poll. That's poor for a first-term Prime Minister. He's in trouble. And his party knows it. Folks, Luxon and National are in trouble at 29. Now, I know you're going to email me and say, oh, you're an arsehole or you're a prick for bringing this up and you're attacking Luxon. I want him to do better. He's got to stand for something. Do they roll him at 29%? Do they roll him at 27%? When do you start to say, hey, this guy's not the guy? I've already said that they should do it. What could go wrong? 29 won't get them back. It's a howler of a result. The poll numbers continue to soften, and Hipkins continues to go up, and he's done nothing and stands for nothing. He's riding the cost of living crisis. That's all he's done. He's created this emergency through the cost of living crisis. And he created this problem through policies of large use when he was in government. And he's released no policy. He doesn't have to. It's a free ride, isn't it? But it won't and it can't last, surely. What we have here is rapidly falling house prices, which is bad for politicians. People no longer feel wealthy and they want to blame someone. And it's landing on Luxon's desk. It doesn't stack up though, does it? And people have to let it out somewhere. We have people lacking confidence, and where they let it out to is Luxon. They blame Luxon. Businesses lacking confidence, they blame Luxon. Luxon seen as ineffective. And Hipkins is picking up easy support, doing nothing. He's not saying what Labour will do. He's got no idea. As soon as he does, they'll probably be unpopular. Once he does say what they're going to do, their poll numbers can only go down. This will catch up with Hipkins. He can't be an empty vessel forever. The left-wing radicals in the party will want their pound of flesh on tax. They're soon about to make their biggest mistake. Just wait, be patient, and it will happen.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, plenty to unpack there, plenty to discuss. The house buying ban being lifted. Hipkins' response, of course. Actors saying let's leave the Paris Agreement and the Roy Morgan poll, which puts National at just 29%. Not good. David Seymour, the Deputy Prime Minister, is with us now. David, g'day. Nice to have you on.
Yeah, hey, and congratulations on your success. You're building up a good audience here.
Thank you, David. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that sentiment. Hey, the foreign buyer ban, which has been lifted for houses over $5 million. Chris Hopkins says, "Oh, this is now open season that people have flown to the country to buy our houses." I think he's lying.
Well, a couple of things. I mean, first of all, let's just establish the facts. The government has said we will change the law, and we'll do this in November, and we'll change the law in such a way that if you are someone who has one of these active investor visas, that means that you've invested at least $5 million in a business or other type of commercial arrangement for at least 3 years, then you can buy a home. But that home must be over $5 million. So first of all, we know that you have at least $10 million that you're prepared to invest in New Zealand if you're able to do that. Now, I wish there were thousands, millions of people with at least $10 million coming here, but the sad reality is it's not. And then the next issue is, of the people that want to invest, a lot of them will not want to. So there's been about 300 people expression of interest in taking on one of these visas. That doesn't mean they've done it yet. And of those, not many are going to want to come here. So at most, there might be a few hundred houses a year out of 2 million houses in New Zealand. That just puts it in perspective. There's about 2 million houses in New Zealand. Potentially a couple of hundred a year will change hands. And by the way, they will still exist. They'll just have a different person that owns them. So, we need to get all of this into perspective. Then you ask yourself about Chris Hipkins' reaction. Oh, sorry, I'm going on. What were you going to say?
No, you go, Karen. No, you carry on. Carry on.
Yeah. Then you come to Chris Hipkins' reaction. And I think one of the reasons that people are a bit skeptical about politics is that it's simply saying the thing that you think people want to hear before they think it. That's what he's trying to do. And so you can kind of see the cogs turning in Chris Hipkins' mind. Oh, foreigners, houses, rich people. I should be opposed to this because those are the memes that I live by. Well, we need more than meme politics. We need the politics of actual logic. And the logic is, if you got a few hundred people a year that want to come here, invest in businesses, buy a house, stay a while, maybe get more integrated into New Zealand society, that's going to be a good thing. People that are successful generally are successful because they've actually done good work and they've served other people, so much so those other people have given them hard-earned money for their services, and that means in turn they might do more of it here. So this is all positive.
We should be welcoming these people in because they bring investment, and that's jobs, it's wealth. We want to spread it, spread it so the people behind us can buy the houses, and they can buy the houses, because there's no point if no one can buy the houses but beneath us. So with that, Labor set up this investor status, this visa. This is what Stu Nash set up. He thinks Labor's deluded and out of touch on this.
Well, when Stu Nash is saying you're deluded and out of touch, you're in deep trouble. It's hard not to like Stewie, but let's face it, he made a mistake or two in the day. All I would say is that all people divide into one of two categories when it comes to politics. There are people who think that wealth is a finite thing and politicians' job is to divide it up. And there are people who believe wealth is basically infinite, but you have to earn it. And the politician's job is to create the conditions for people to discover new ideas, discover new concepts, new products, new services, better ways of producing things, and then we can all get wealthier together. Now, if you're in the zero-sum camp, I pity you because you just spend your whole time fighting over the scraps. If you're in the positive sum, the growth camp, you think that it's possible to solve problems and make a better world, then, welcome, and we're going to have a great journey.
Look at this. Look at the issue around house prices right now. There's argument about, is it good that they come back or is it better that they go forward? Those who think that house prices coming back is good for the economy surely are deluded, because look at the economy stalled as a result and going backwards as a result, because this is a confidence issue. This is people feel wealthier when the house prices go up, and they haven't been. People are deluded to think. Be careful what you wish for, David.
Well, I find the whole debate a bit bemusing, because the truth is, politicians, people ask, oh, do you want the house price to go up or down? I mean, who cares? Because there's nothing I can do about it, I can assure you. If I can't tell you what the New Zealand dollar is going to be 1 year from now, where the NZX is going to be, or the global dairy trade. The thing is, prices and markets are set by a million different factors, supply and demand and special events. And in the case of housing, it's migrants to come in and out, and how easy it is to build, and how much confidence there is in the building sector. I mean, interest rates, you name it. There's so many reasons why the price could go up or down. What politicians should be doing is saying, we want a growth mindset. So easy to get a resource consent, changing the RMA. Easier to get a building consent. Chris Pink's doing great work on that. Easy to get builders. We're making it easier for people to come and work in this country. Easier to find a buyer. We're making it easier for people to come here, to buy homes, to borrow money with lower interest rates. So all of those things that politicians can control, we're doing to make it easier. But I would say at the end of the day, house prices will go wherever they want. I just hope, if I have any dream, it's that house prices rise, but wages rise faster than house prices. That's the real sign of success in our society.
The economy's struggling, isn't it? It's a struggle at the moment, isn't it?
That's what almost everyone that I talk to says to me. I talk to people, talking to a property developer on the weekend, said, look, it's really hard. I get people who come to me, builders, every week say, "Have you got anything? Have you got anything?" And I have to say, "Mate, I'm sorry, I'm in the same bind. I'm not going anywhere. I want to be, but I'm not right now." I was talking to some people yesterday who they actually mine sand for concrete. And they said in Auckland, at least, concrete demand's about half where it was at the peak. It's roughly where it was in 2014. So we're just not using the concrete. And that's probably a good indicator of how much construction's going on. Then you flip over to retail and you talk to store owners who say they have a 0 day. And you think of these people, they got their heart, their mind, their mortgage put into running a shop maybe, and they stand at the counter for a whole day and nobody buys anything, and they call that a 0 day. So there's no question that people are having a tough time. What I would say is that there are no shortcuts in an economic cycle. So we had a big spending blowout and lockdowns. We had the inflation take off. The interest rates fired up to counteract that. Then we had a recession, and then we had unemployment. Now, like dominoes, those are each reversing. Inflation is under control because spending's under control. That means interest rates are coming down. And I was talking to someone who runs one of the big banks, and they told me everyone who fixes now on a new rate is fixing on a lower rate than they came off. Now, that wasn't true 6 months ago. There were people who were maybe refixing on maybe a 4 point something, which is good, but actually they'd fixed 3 years earlier on one of the really good rates on a 2 point something, and so people were still being put on higher rates as early as 6 months, as recently as 6 months ago. Now every person that gets a new mortgage rate is going down. It means people have more cash, people spend more, and all of those dominoes get put back up, and we're in a better place.
I was in an auction room yesterday with someone who was selling, and it was passed in, but it actually sold later in the evening. But for a lot less than what this person wanted. And I was in an auction room a few weeks ago and bought something for a lot less than those people wanted as well. So you're buying and selling in the same market. But my God, it's deflated. David, this agency had to put their own staff in the seats to make it look like there were people there. This is probably an old trick, but it just was the people, if they've got money, they're staying home. It's flat.
I agree with that. And I think to some extent there's a bit of the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Correct.
So I believe that as people just start to see those interest rate conditions improve, hopefully the geopolitical situation calms down and we don't have, Freedom Day or whatever with the tariffs changing around the world. And along with reasonably strong commodity prices, I see the GDT took a hit yesterday on the dairy price, but for the most part, commodity prices are high, and that is allowing a little bit of confidence to return. And of course, if fear breeds fear, then confidence can also breed confidence. So I believe that there is a turn going on. I know it's been a long turn, but we are heading in the right direction because the government is basically doing the right things, saving money every which way and cutting red tape whenever possible.
Did you think it might have bounced before then? I mean, are you frustrated as someone in this government that you're just waiting for these dominoes to fall into the right place, and it's taking a lot longer than you would have thought, and it's frustrating because the polls would indicate people are getting a little bit annoyed by this now, and the centre-right struggling in the polls. So are you frustrated?
Look, I mean, my feelings are the last thing that matter in this. It's that shopkeeper standing behind the counter having a 0 day. It's that builder going along to a developer saying, "Please, mate, have you got any work on?" Them saying, "Look, I'm sorry, I don't." Those are the people who deserve to be frustrated. Politicians, although we have a big job interview coming up next year, are actually isolated in many ways, personally at least. So we're fortunate in that sense. Not as fortunate, I might add, as the tens of thousands of public servants who are actually paid more than politicians, but I'll put that and don't have to face election. I'll put that aside. What I would say is that the frustration is real for those people, but frustration for politicians. I mean, shit. We deserve everything we get.
Are you worried about the polls?
Not really. I think people are voting on the economy. This year, they'll be voting on the economy next year. And while it's a very tough time, I believe that we have done good policy work and it will lead to improved conditions. And I think just as people are a bit grumpy with us now, they'll look at where things get to as a result of our policy work, and they'll also be able to see that when they vote next year. So I'm not worried about it, because I think, frankly, ACT is doing pretty well. And secondly, I think the real issue is, well, how do you see it in a year's time, rather than how do you look at it a snapshot today? But it's a question of, have we done good policy work? I believe we have.
Yeah, so ACT has held the vote up well, and you are doing well. So is New Zealand First, but National's struggling, and they're your senior and major coalition partner. You need them to do well, don't you? Or do you not?
The coalition needs to have more votes than the left.
Correct.
So I have two simple messages. The next year I'm campaigning to keep the government, because the number of people that come up to me and say, look, if you guys lose, I'm leaving. I say, that's okay, mate, I'll be on the plane with you. They'll probably expel me. And second of all, the number of people who say, but, it's not good enough just to bounce along the bottom. You've got to keep the government, but you've also got to make it better, which is ACT's objective, to make it better. And so, in my view, I believe that we've got to make a better deal than just keeping the other guys out, but it's essential to keep the other guys out first, and that's really my only message. Keep the government, make it better, and I can point to many ways that ACT makes this government better than it would otherwise be.
Why do you think Luxon's struggling personally?
I'm not sure that he is. I think that he is bearing the brunt of the opprobrium around the economy, but he also stands to bear the upside, because if you look at it, he's basically gone out and said, I'm your growth guy. The economy's not growing right now, but it's forecast to start growing. So, maybe he's just a bit clever.
You're the growth guy, but where's the growth?
Well, my point is that, it may be hurting him now, but it may help him later. So,
yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, you're up tomorrow, next year, maybe. Paris, just finally, you've put a line in the sand there, and good on you. I think you get quite a bit of reaction. Have you had much reaction to it?
Yeah, we have, and overwhelmingly positive, because for far too long, New Zealand is like that prayer by St. Francis of Assisi. Everybody wants to die. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And New Zealanders have actually had it both ways. For a long time, we've been able to go to heaven, telling the world we're all clean and green because our mighty hydro lakes and all of our geothermal and a bit of wind added in and a few solar panels, and suddenly it looks like we're, the perfect people. And then we haven't had to die either, because we've kept the lights on. Now, unfortunately, we're starting to face the reality that other people in the likes of Australia and Canada have faced. I lived in Canada when the Liberals campaigned on a carbon tax and got completely destroyed. I watched the Australians, where they had a different Prime Minister just about every month, because their politics was driven by a big argument over coal and climate. New Zealand largely avoided that stuff. And now people are looking at the power bill. People are borrowing off relatives to pay the power bill. I've heard those stories in the last few months. People are saying, well, half the price of power is driven by the ETS. Farmers are watching their communities get covered in trees instead of sheep and beef. And people are saying, jeepers, this climate stuff's not actually costless. It was good when we could go to heaven without having to die, but now we've got to choose. And we just don't want to die. So how can we go to Paris and say, look, not quite sure about the deal we cut, doesn't seem to be working for us. And in particular, it doesn't work for an agricultural exporting nation. I mean, this country has farmers that feed about 40 million people worth of food. And we're some of the most efficient farmers in the world. Yeah. And yet we get punished for doing it. Now, if New Zealand farmers get put out of business, those people buy food from less efficient countries, then, the climate will be worse off and New Zealand will be poor.
I just don't see the point of going broke and having to set up food banks on every corner in the name of Paris. I don't understand it. I look at coal. Let's just have a look at coal very quickly. In the last 2 years of the Labour government, they imported, I looked at this, about 3 million tonnes of coal from Indonesia in the last 2 years of their government. You guys have imported far less, way less. But the demand in those days, when Labour first started, it was massive. They're hypocrites. And we've only got the lights on because of coal. It's imported, and the other coal that is in New Zealand is in the ground. I just don't understand it, David.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just think we need to reframe this a little bit. I mean,
it's a fraud.
New Zealand's electricity generation is 85 to 90% renewable. Hydro, geothermal, solar, wind. If we have the other 10% thermal, and that means gas and coal, then we are some of, if not the most renewable electricity producers in the world. It's a pretty amazing place to be. And if a little bit of coal at the margin is necessary to make the renewable possible by firming it up when there's no wind or no sun or no water or whatever,
of course,
then we should take that with both hands. And I just believe that we need to start saying, look, a little bit of coal when it's a fraction of our supply, and it's a tiny fraction of what they do in Australia, where some states are 80% coal, and we're worried about being at 10%.
China's building coal stations.
We've got to reframe this.
Yeah, well, we need to be honest. We just need to be honest, and it needs to come from both sides. But the honesty goes like this: yes, we import coal. Yes, we keep the lights on as a result, but everything else is looking pretty good. They're almost in denial, the other side about it. Coal's a dirty word, yet they're importing it. So stop being hypocrites.
Well, I think the thing is, we actually want this country to work.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, that's how it works.
Exactly.
David, we'll leave it there. You're positive? You feeling good?
Yeah, I am. I just look at where Act's come and where it's going. When you were reporting on us in the Beehive, and when I was coming on the AM show, there was one of me. Then we went up to 10 and everyone said, oh, it'll never work. This guy couldn't manage a team, it'll all be hopeless. And then we got to the point where, we were polling, 15%. People said, far out, they might even overtake the National Party. Then we had a rough election year. We own that, but we still got another record result, went into government. Now people said, oh, these guys are too crazy. The government won't work. It'll all fall apart. Well, 2 years in, actually, it's working pretty well, and we're making serious change across resource management, labour laws, regulation, the amount of spending, the way Oranga Tamarikis run, Farm Act, you name it, we're making the changes. We're making them big and we're making them fast to make this country a better place. And then we go into another election. So, it's just every 3 years, up another step. Everyone says you'll fail, then up another step. So, yeah, I'm feeling good. Really good.
I've learned not to write politicians off. I learned years ago around Winston, never write them off, because there's a strange thing that happens. They always come back. Somehow they come back.
There you go.
Good on you, David. Appreciate it, mate.
Thanks, Duncan.
Thanks for your time.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, so I've had this letter in here, Duncan. It says the McCallum brothers, they lose in the environmental court for damaging Pakiri and Mangawhai, and now they get to move next to Bream Bay, which is the bay over, to do the same thing. Yes, we need sand for concrete, but we don't need to destroy the marine environment and people who live of the moana to provide it. See, the mining you see at sea. We revealed that the dredgers had created and hidden deep seabed trenches. We proved that onshore erosion was being caused. Duncan, we revealed many operational misstatements, incorrect science and concerning practices. In parallel, local iwi were united and strong and compelling in highlighting significant cultural harms. Pakiri and Mangawhai have paid a huge price for the uninterrupted sand dredging, particularly in recent years. Now it may rest and gently try to heal. Solution? We have Kea Sand and Atlas Concrete, who can use manufactured sand and recycled concrete sand from Albany, plus other land-based sand providers like Hanson's to provide more than enough sand for our construction needs. Final word, Duncan, are we just dumb and blind to just allow them, McCallum Brothers, just to continue and now destroy Bream Bay? Do they get the green light because McCallum Brothers also is a financial contributor to National New Zealand First, buddies with Shane Jones and Chris Bishop with the Fast Track project? Ngā mihi nui. Hunty, Daniel Hunt from Auckland and Whangarei. So, with offshore mining, there seems to be that iwi are going to be against this right the way around the country. Do we want jobs? Are jobs important? We need industry. So we're going to turn down foreign investors coming in. Hipkins doesn't like that. We're going to stop mining. We're not allowing coal mining in New Zealand, but we'll import it from overseas. There'll be no marine mining if the left has their way. How do we pay for our lunch? We've got to provide jobs. I see it all the time. I see people jumping on planes in Auckland and Wellington heading to the South Island for jobs in coal mines in the South Island. Thanks for your support, folks. Thanks for your feedback. Get in touch with our social media, Duncan Garner, podcast on TikTok, Instagram. Flick us an email, duncan@rover.nz. To my team, Brody, Lockie, thanks, guys. We'll do it again tomorrow. Remember, life is no dress rehearsal, no curtain raiser. This is it. We live in one of the best places on earth. Thanks for your support. Thanks for subscribing, and we appreciate it. Take care. Enjoy it out there, folks. Have a great day. Take care.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief, sponsored by the Brothers Green. Feed your gut what it needs. Digest Gut Health Protein Powder. I use it myself. It supports natural digestion and gut health. Made with premium Canterbury-grown hemp powder and a unique blend of active kiwifruit enzyme powder and kiwifruit skin extract, offering natural prebiotics and a nutrient-rich profile to complement a balanced lifestyle. Always read the label. Take as directed. Supplementary, of course, to a balanced diet. The Brothers Green, Christchurch.